Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Rugers, presenting with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we have another UFC pay-per-view this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 313, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev goes down this Saturday. I will hopefully be able to catch it, but as some of you may know, I'm actually going on spring break. We're going down to Myrtle Beach, so I will not actually be able to record another episode until next Thursday or Friday. So it's going to be about a week off of no Surprise Jab podcast episodes, which I know makes everyone sad, but that's just how it is. So we'll cover that. We're also going to talk about the NBA and NHL today. Look at some new UFC fights. Got a lot of fun stuff going on for everyone. A lot of fun trips going on in the life of Zachary as well. I coached my team successfully to a 3v3 championship in hockey, and we absolutely raged at the bar last night. I mean, we had a trophy. We were drinking out of it. We were going nuts. I gave quite possibly one of the greatest pregame speeches of all pregame speeches. There have been so many clips coming out of it. I don't even know what to say. It was such a fun time, such a fun experience. So we're going to run it back. Okay, we're coming for it all. I want to win another championship next semester. Not even next semester, post-spring break, I think is when the next tournament kicks off, or however it works. But as for now, let's get on into today's episode with, of course, what we kick things off with always. New UFC fights, new UFC news, and all I really have for us are 3 new UFC fights and a potential fight going down with Ilia Topuria. So we'll start with the confirmed fights. First off, this one for UFC Mexico, March 29th. The return of Raul Rosas Jr. That is right, Raul. He'll be actually turning 21 this year in October, if I'm not mistaken. So good for him. Finally, we'll be able to drink legally. But he's back in action, 10-1 professionally, 4-1 in the UFC, and I think he's on a little 2-fight win streak now. Ever since dropping his first professional fight, it might actually be, I think it's 3. I think he's won 3 straight fights now, and 2 of them are finishes. So good stuff for Raul Rosas Jr. He takes on Vince Morales. Vince is 16-9, 3-7 in the UFC. Biggest win of his career is probably over Amin Zahabi. He actually holds a win over Vince. Hasn't really amounted to much. I can't remember the last time he fought. I think Raul should manhandle him pretty handsomely, but they are trying to build up Raul, so we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. Another one for you, this one for UFC Kansas City, March 26th. I feel like these dudes have fought before, but welterweight action has 2 veterans. The 36-year-old Randy Rude Boy Brown takes on the 41-year-old Nicholas Dalby. Holy cow, we got some old heads in the octagon. Nicholas Dalby kind of has been in the prime of his career. We'll see how he bounces back after the recent loss to, or was it a draw against, I think it was Renat Fakhretdinov, it might have been. Randy Brown, he's always been a guy who's been on the verge of the rankings, but can never really crack them. You know, he'll lose to someone like Neil Magny, someone like Jack Del Maddalena, someone like Vicente Luque, and just he's never really been able to break into the rankings. So this should be a good one. I'm probably going to lean more Randy Brown. However, it's in Kansas City, and anything could happen. And with that, we have one more new fight that's made official. This one for UFC Des Moines, of course, going down in Des Moines, Iowa, May 3rd. Middleweight action as Ryan Man of Steel Loader, 9-1 professionally, the winner of this past season of The Ultimate Fighter, will finally be making his debut. I mean, against a guy that's not for the Ultimate Fighter Championship in Osmont Bekov. Osmont Bekov, 19-3 now, 1-0. He, of course, TKO'd Zachary Reese last time out in round number 1. Good for him. This will be interesting. This should be an interesting one. You know, Ryan Loader, he had a very sloppy first fight. I mean, he was able to get the victory. And as for Osmont, he pretty much ran through Zachary Reese, TKO'd him in round 1 with some vicious ground and pound. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I think that these are going to be some good fights. We should get some good action out of them, and, I mean, nothing too big as of right now in terms of announcements. We did mention that Ilia Topuria recently released a statement saying he has some big news coming that is going to shock everyone. Of course, everyone knows Ilia Topuria has vacated his 145-pound featherweight championship and is moving up to 155. In terms of potential fights, there's always the Islam Makhachev fight, but I don't think they're going to pull that trigger. They might go with Charles Oliveira, which I think could be fun. They might do him versus Arman Tsarukyan. I could see Arman versus Ilia. I don't know if they're friendly, though. There is maybe Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. It's tough to say. I just don't really know. I don't really know what they're going to do with Ilia Topuria. It's really up in the air. I'm really confused on what option they're going to go with. But if it's up to me, I say they make a Charles Oliveira fight. I think it's just a fun fight to do. It'd be a great victory for Utopia. I think he would beat him. And even if he loses, I mean, that's just massive for Charles Oliveira. That's a number one title fight right there. I'll have to see what the UFC likes to go with. And actually, lastly, we can talk about the updated rankings after last weekend's event. Following his victory in the main event, now Cape doesn't move up at all in the rankings. He doesn't pass Tatsuro Taira or Kai Kara-France or Amir Albazi, who are all losing. I guess Tatsuro lost a close decision. Kai Kara-France has gotten some knockouts, but I mean, no respect to Manel Cape, so he makes no movement. Steve Erceg passes Asu Almabayev from 9 to 8. Mind you, Steve Erceg was knocked out last time he fought. Asu clearly will be taking on someone lower in the rankings, maybe someone like Ramazan Temuriyov, who after his win over Charles Johnson is now ranked number 13. Bruno Silva moves up to 12, and Charles Johnson is now ranked 15, with Joshua Van, who fights this weekend, getting booted from the rankings. Absolute BS, but I think if Joshua Van wins, they may throw him back in the rankings, in my opinion, for the flyweight division. For bantamweight, Marcus McGee passes Amin Zahabi. I don't know why they're moving Amin Zahabi down, especially if he has a fight coming up with Jose Aldo. I don't really know the decision process there, but doesn't really have any implications on me. And as for that, no other real changes. Misha Tate passed Jacqueline Cavalcante in the women's bantamweight division. Does that do anything for you? I didn't think so. Those are all your new UFC news, new UFC match or whatever. I say we get into the NBA. That's what I'm all about, the NBA. Lots of interesting stuff going on in the NBA, in my opinion. The rankings as we look at them right now. The Cavaliers have clinched the Eastern Conference, I'm pretty sure. They have a blue little check mark next to their name. Oh, that just means they've clinched a playoff spot. We already knew they clinched a playoff spot, but it is what it is. 52-10. They're on a 12-game winning streak. This Cavs team has been absolutely disgusting. They've been playing some great basketball. 29-4 at home. I just think the question is what's going to happen when they get to the playoffs and they have to play teams like the Celtics and the Knicks. They're currently in the number 2. That's probably where they'll finish. 44-18 right now as they head down into the final 20-game stretch. They're on a 2-game win streak, 8-2 in their last 10. We know how good the Celtics are. I just saw last night Derek White and Peyton Pritchard combined for 80-plus points, almost 90 points. Insane stuff from them. Knicks, 40-21. They're 6-4 over their last 10. They have a great squad. Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns. They know what to do. Bucks at the 4, 36-25. They are on a 4-game win streak, but Giannis just hasn't really been hitting it for anyone on the team. Actually, I don't even know if it's Giannis. Giannis might have been injured for like the last few games, if I'm not mistaken. And Damian Lillard just hasn't been really able to recreate the magic he had when he was in Portland. Pacers at the 5, Pistons in 6, Heat in 7, Magic in 8. It's kind of a close matchups between there. I'd say the Bucks, Pacers, and Pistons are kind of in competition right now, and then you have the Heat, Magic, and Hawks who are in competition. The Bulls, they're in 10th, 24-38. This is where you get into your lower level teams. Nets, 76ers, both 21-40. Raptors are 20-42. Hornets are on an 8-game losing streak, are 14-47. I can't believe that LaMelo Ball is on such a bad team. And of course, the worst team in the NBA is the Wizards, 12-49, but they did win the other day. Good for them. In my predictions, I'm still going to ride with the Celtics making the NBA Finals at this point. I'm so confident in their abilities. Every time I see them, they just seem like such a well-oiled unit. Cavs I think they're going to be one of those teams, they could get 60 wins. I think they're definitely going to get 60 wins, but as far as anything else, I don't think they're going to make it far in the playoffs. Probably past round 1, maybe upset round 2, but if it gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't got them winning. Just my opinion. Checking out the Western Conference, the Thunder, 51-11. They're on a 5-game win streak. They've been playing some damn good basketball, let me tell you. They're a team that I do worry about for the playoffs just because they're so young. And last year it was evident that they can be beat by veteran presence like Luka Doncic, for example. And speaking of Luka Doncic, the Lakers, 39-21, 7-game win streak. They're now second in the West. What did we expect? But the difference there is they're 11 games behind the Thunder. Thunder are easily going to clinch the Western Conference in the coming few days. Lakers 39-21, still good. Nuggets in third with 40-22 record. We know this Nuggets team is good. It wasn't but 2 years ago they won the NBA Finals. I'm not forgetting that. Nikola Joker. The Joker is currently second in the MVP race compared to Shea, who is in first. Grizzlies in 4th and Rockets in 5th. Warriors in 6th. Timberwolves in 7th. Timberwolves 35-29 are on a 3-game win streak. I mean, every time I do a sim on NBA, they always have them finishing in the top 5 teams, and for some reason in real life, they just can't reciprocate that. I do think that, they're at 35 wins, Warriors are at 34, Rockets at 37, Grizzlies at 38. I'll even throw the Nuggets in at 40, Lakers at 39. I mean, it's truly a toss-up for what the 2 through 8 seed will look like for the Western Conference, but I do think no matter what, the Timberwolves will be making the playoffs. Clippers at the 8, their attendance for games, I've heard, has been really low, and I just think there's no excitement with this team anymore. I mean, just no one gets buzzing about a Clippers game. Kings in 9th, I mean, they have certainly some players. They did deal away De'Aaron Fox, which has kind of been interesting. Mavericks in 10th, they're completely tanking away their franchise. Very confused about what they're doing. Suns in 11th. If I were to tell you, the Suns have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant and are the 11th team in the West, 29-33. You'd probably ask me how that's happening, and I couldn't give you a good answer. Trailblazers at the 12, Spurs at the 13, both are relevant. Then your 2 bottom barrel, the Zion Williamson Pelicans, don't forget about Brandon Ingram, and the Jazz, 15-47, 3-game losing streak. I think the Jazz are going to compete with the Wizards for potentially the worst team in the NBA. My question is, who is going to get Cooper Flag in this upcoming NBA draft? And I don't know who they're going to give him to. I think he'll go first, in my opinion. I could see them trying to get him on the Pelicans, maybe the Trailblazers. I really see him in like a Raptors uniform for some reason, or the Hornets or Wizards. I don't know what's going to happen, but the NBA is somewhat interesting. I'll give it to you. Not the most interesting, but still interesting to a degree, if you will. That's what I'll say about the NBA. Now, as for the NHL also been pretty interesting to an extent. Certainly after the Four Nations face-off, I would say it hasn't been the most exciting, but nonetheless, we can look Eastern Conference. Your best team is actually, we can just talk about we'll go conference. I mean, on the NHL page on Google, they list it per division, but I can pretty much discern between the divisions. But the best team in the East is the Capitals, 88 points. No other team has 80 points right now. And you got the Capitals, who are 40-14-8. They have been incredible. Alexander Ovechkin, 39 years old, playing, looking like he's just having fun out there, in my opinion. Some teams in second. You got Panthers. They got 79 points. Maple Leafs with 79. They're both 31-21-3. 38-21-3 are the Panthers and Maple Leafs. Dead same record. Pretty funny. Canadians, they're on a 5-game win streak. Good for them. Sabres, worst team in the East with only 54 points, 24 wins, 30 losses, 6 overtime losses on the year. They have lost their last 4. Tough stuff. Penguins are on a 3-game losing streak as well, 24-30-10. Not the brightest time for them. Canes, Devils, Blue Jackets, Rangers, kind of all middle of the pack, I'll say you're starting to see the divide between the top teams and the bottom teams, but there's only 6 teams, and then the Capitals in terms of 70 points, and then, of course, you're 88 points from the Capitals. So, Capitals, best team in the East, and they're actually tied for best team in the league, as the best team in the West is the Winnipeg Jets, 42-16-4. They also have 88 points, but they've dropped their last 3. So not good signs for them. They do have a plus 70 point differential, which is crazy. 7-2-1 over the last 10. They've been playing great. Wild, they have 76 points on the year. They are 4th in the West. 36-22-4. 5-5 for the last 10. The loss of Kirill has just really impacted this team, and it's also impacted me in fantasy hockey. Mind you, our playoffs are coming up next week, so I got to get ready to lock in. Stars, they have 82 points. Golden Knights have 80 points. Oilers have 74. Kings with 71. 2 worst teams in the league are in this conference. Sharks are bottom of the barrel, 17-37-9, only 43 points. And the Blackhawks, 19-35-8 with only 46 points. Tough. Really tough that they were the 2 worst teams last year, and they just haven't improved at all. I don't know what they could have done to improve, but Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard, not helping either of their squads. So NHL, it's pretty evident. You got the Jets, they're your heavy hitter in the West, and you got the Capitals, heavy hitter in the East. Now, early predictions now. I don't know. I could see the Jets winning the Stanley Cup. I'm obviously always going to root for the Wild, but I think it's coming from the East. I think it's going to come from the East. I think you're going to see a Capitals or Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs are tied for second in the Eastern Conference. I think it's going to be either the Leafs or the Capitals. Just from my not even like surface level assessment, just from me looking at the teams and going, okay, I think you're going to do this, and that'll just be what happens. So that's all we got for the NHL. I don't know too much about it. Okay, I'm a UFC guy. I do still like to kind of check in with the standings, keep everyone updated on what's going on, but I'll tell you what else is going on, and that's what we really want to talk about, and that is UFC 313. So we got a lot of fights to cover, a lot of action to go over before it happens. I mean, I hope we get a good card here, and I may be watching this up until I actually am on my flight, because my flight is at 5 in the morning. Got to be there probably at 2 to 3 in the morning. This will get over at midnight. So I don't know if I'm getting any sleep. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about this beautiful card from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Kicking off this card, we head to the men's middleweight division as we have the debuting Djordjan Santos. He takes on Ozzy Diaz, DJORDEN. Nickname is Shakir DeJordan. I think it's DeJordan. That's what I'm going to go with. Well, DeJordan is the favorite at minus 185. Ozzy Diaz is the underdog at plus 155. DeJordan 10-1. Ozzy is 9-3. 6'4" to 6 foot. Ozzy has 4 inches in height. He also has 4 inches in reach. 79 to 75. Orthodox stance for both of these gentlemen. DeJordan, coming from Dana White's Contender Series, the 27-year-old is on a 5-fight winning streak. He comes from Brazil and has 7 finishes in his 10 wins, 3 knockouts, and 4 subs. He beat Will Curry in September on the Contender Series to earn a contract, and now he'll get a shot in his UFC debut against Ozzy Diaz. Ozzy is 34 years old, from California. Of his 9 wins, he has 9 finishes, 7 knockouts, and 2 subs, and all of his losses, he has been knocked out, and so this man has never gone the distance. He was on Dana White's Contender Series in 2022, where he got knocked out by Joe Pyfer. He then stepped down on short notice in November 2024 to take on Zhang Mingyang and got knocked out in 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So Ozzy Diaz, not the most talented guy. They're setting DeJordan up here to get a nice knockout in his debut, and I think exactly that will take place. Give me DeJordan Santos by round 1 knockout. I mean, Ozzy, what's going on, brother? Your chin just does not appear to be all there. DeJordan, I don't know much about him. He's riding a win streak. He's from Brazil, and he's our prediction for this opening prelim fight. Following that, we head to the men's featherweight division as Chris Gutierrez will be taking on John Castaneda. This is a short notice matchup being put together, and yes, Chris Gutierrez does normally fight at bantamweight, but of course, his matchup with, who was Chris? So Gene Matsumoto, he's supposed to take on Gene Matsumoto. Gene got the call up to take on Rob Font when, I'm trying to think, who was Rob Font supposed to fight? And then someone pulled out, I think Rob Font was supposed to fight someone in the top 10. I can't really recall. I'm actually kicking myself that I can't remember who Rob Font was about to fight. Let me actually look at the UFC rankings here for a second, because he had a fight lined up with, it wasn't Song Yadong. Who was Rob Font supposed to fight? At this point, it doesn't even matter, but he was supposed to take on someone. G. Matsumoto stepped in, Chris lost his opponent, and John Castaneda lost his opponent last weekend in Douglas Silva de Andrade, so now these two have just matched up with one another. Chris, 21-6-2, is coming in as the underdog, actually, plus 105. John Castaneda at minus 125 with a 21-7 record is the favorite. 6 foot to 5'6". Oh, actually 5'9" to 5'6" gives Chris 3 inches in height, and John actually has the reach. 71 to 67. Switch stance for John Castaneda. Orthodox for Chris Gutierrez. This will be interesting. This will be an interesting matchup. I mean, size-wise, pretty even. Chris, 33 years old, from Colorado, 10 finishes in those 21 wins, 9 knockouts, and 1 submission. Of his 6 losses, he's only ever been finished once by submission, and he's had 2 canceled bouts. So last time he fought was in August of 2024 when he beat Kwang Lee on short notice. For that, he was taking on Song Yadong, beating Alatenge. That was a short notice fight. Fighting Pedro Munoz, fighting Frankie Edgar. So Chris has kind of been around the block a while, been with the UFC now 7 years. He's just, always kind of bounced in and out of the rankings. Right now he is out of the UFC rankings. A win here might get him an opportunity to get back in, but Chris had a golden opportunity against Song Yadong, and unfortunately, Song just had his number. John, on the other hand, also 33 years old from Minneapolis, Minnesota. 14 finishes in his 21 wins, 7 knockouts, 7 subs. And of his 7 losses, he's been knocked out twice. Of course, supposed to fight last weekend. He was unable to. So last time he ended up fighting was in June of 2024 when Daniel Marcos beat him by unanimous decision. Other than that, I mean, he hasn't been awful in the UFC. He's sitting at 4-3. I mean, he was knocked out by Daniel Santos in 2022. He got an arm triangle in 2022 himself in a victory, and it's tough to know what'll happen. It's up in the air. Chris Gutierrez is super talented, and I know that when I look at the guys that he loses to. I mean, they're only tough competitors. I'm not saying John's bad, but Chris, losses to Song Yadong, Pedro Munoz, wins over Badagal Dana, Felipe Colores, Andre Ewell, Quang Lee. Not the highest level people, but I think that John Castaneda, because he's from Minnesota, is going to win this by unanimous decision. Just kind of catch Chris off guard, and I guess John is the favorite, oddly, but I feel like he shouldn't. I feel like Chris Gutierrez should be the favorite for this, but he's not. He's the underdog, so we ride with another favorite. That's my opinion. But yeah. We'll just keep it moving. Moving on to the featherweight division, we have Myron Santos back in action as he takes on Francis Marshall. Myron the legend Santos, Francis Fire Marshall. I see it. Fire Marshall, I see what you did there, Francis. Myron is 15-1. Francis is 8-2. 5'9" to 5'7". Francis has 2 inches in height. They both have a 72-inch reach and both stand in the orthodox fighting position. Myron's coming in heavy here, minus 375 favorite. Francis Marshall is the plus 290 underdog. Myron Santos, 24 years young from Nevada, currently on a 4-fight winning streak. He has 8 knockouts of those 15 wins, and his 1 loss was by TKO. He fought in August last, where he won the. I think he was on the Ultimate Fighter, but he didn't actually win it here. He was just they always pick 1 fighter they like or 2 fighters and have them fight. And he knocked out Con Offley on there shockingly in round number 2, dominant fashion, pretty nice KO. And now he's here. And he looked good in that matchup. Now I can't lie, Con Offley wasn't really up to at UFC level. That became apparent when he lost to Muhammad Naimov earlier this year. So it's tough to know what we're going to get. But Myron Santos looked good so far. We'll see how he does against Francis Marshall. Francis, 25 years old from New Jersey, 5 finishes and 8 wins, 1 knockout and 4 subs. Of his 2 losses, he's been knocked out once by Isaac Dolgarian, which was in 2023. It was actually his last loss. Last win came on the same card, oddly, that, his opponent, Myron Santos, won on. He beat Dennis Bazukja by split decision, and all I'm going to say is Dennis Bazukja is not the best fighter, and Francis really had to deal with some adversity in that one. Francis, he's gotten a knockout of Marcelo Rojo in 2022, won on Davis Qatar Series in 2022 as well. I just think, it's tricky. It's tricky to know what we're gonna get because this is a toss up. Plus 290 is pretty appetizing for me to want to pick him as an underdog. But Myron looked so good in his debut. I really just can't pick against him. I know it's 50-50 in these fights, but I'm going to go with Myron Santos to beat Francis Marshall. Maybe even shock him with another round 1 TKO. Kind of like what Isaac Dolgarian did. Took him down, mauled him. I could see a similar thing happening here, but we'll have to see. From 2 young guns to 2 veterans of the game, we had the men's welterweight division as Alex the Great White Morono takes on Carlos the Lion Zilbalna. Battle of a great white and a lion. I wonder who will win. 24-11 with 1 no contest is the professional record for Alex Morono. 21-6 is Carlos Lil's record. Both men are 5'11". Carlos Lil holds 2 inches in reach, 74 to 72 inches, and they are both in the orthodox fighting position. Alex Morono coming in plus 600 underdog. Carlos Lil minus 900. Alex Morono, 34 years old from Texas, 13 finishes and 24 career wins, 6 knockouts, 7 subs, and of his 11 losses, he's been submitted or knocked out. He's been knocked out 3 times, so usually goes the distance. Been with the UFC now 9 years, and he has just fought a number of guys. Nico Price, Song Kinong, Max Griffin, Chaos Williams, Donald Cerrone holds a round 1 knockout over Matthew Semmelsberger, Tim Means. Last win came in 2024 against Court McGee. He's dropped his last 2, which were decisions to Nico Price and Daniel Rodriguez, both in 2024. So he'll look to bounce back here when he takes on Carlos Lil. But Carlos Lil, man, if you know about this guy, you know he is a legend of the game. 30 years old from Brazil, 12 finishes and 21 wins, 10 knockouts and 2 subs. Of his 6 losses, he's only ever been submitted once. once in his entire career, and he was known in the PFL, in Bellator. He's been around the block. Took Renat Fakhretdinov in his debut to a very close decision. A lot of people thought that he was robbed of that, and that just speaks to his high level. So I don't know if he's going to get a finish here. That's kind of hard for me to picture, but I do think he's going to beat Alex Morono, may even get a late round 3 knockout, late round 3 submission or something. I'm very confident in his abilities when it comes to this matchup. Keeping our prelims rolling, we got some good ones on here, guys. Next up, we got Bruno the Hulk Ferreira taking on Armen Superman Petrosian. Bruno Ferreira, 12-2. Armen Petrosian, 9-4. 6'3" to 5'10". Armen has 5 inches in height, but a 1-inch reach advantage goes to Bruno. 72-71. Orthodox hits for both of these gentlemen. Bruno is the plus 130 underdog. Armen is the minus 155 favorite, which I absolutely love. Bruno Ferreira will start with 32 years old from Brazil, 12 finishes in 12 wins. And mind you, both of his losses, 2 losses, he was finished in. So this man has never been the distance in his entire career. 9 knockouts and 3 subs, and both of his losses have came by knockout and submission, respectfully, each. Bruno made his UFC debut coming off a Daniel Cortez series and shockingly knocked out Gregor Rodriguez in round number 1. He would then get knocked out by Nerson Ruzaboyev in round 1. He would then knock out Phil Hawes in round 1. He would then hit one of the nastiest spinning back elbows last summer against Dustin Stolfus. And then most recently, he took on Abus Magomedov in October at UFC 308 and got submitted in round number 3. Just kind of showed the evolution of the game, I'll say, for Abus Magomedov on that one, using the grappling, which took Bruno Ferreira off guard. I don't think he is bad at all. I just think he's still learning. Despite being 32 years old, he's still learning the grappling and the MMA aspects of things. His opponent, Armen Petrosian, 34 years old from Armenia, has 5 knockouts of his 9 career wins. Of his 4 career losses, 2 have been by knockout and 1 by submission. Currently has dropped his last 2, both being finished in them. 2024, he was submitted by Rodolfo Vieira in round 1. Then Shar Magomedov hit a double spinning back fist on him. Just absolutely clipped that boy. After having a good knockout on Dana White's Contender Series in 2021, he just hasn't amounted to much in the UFC. He's gone 3-3, all of his wins by decision. I think Bruno's power is going to be what gives him the advantage here. If anyone, Bruno's going to grapple, which I don't see, so we should expect a striking affair here. I'm going to say Bruno Ferreira catches him in round number 1, knocks him out, and goes to 13-2. I like Bruno Ferreira, man. I just think when he runs into guys like Abus Magomedov or Nerson Ruzaboyev, these are just guys that their styles do not match with him. And someone like Armen Petrosian, he may have the height, but the reach isn't going to be too much of an aspect. And seeing what he did to Gregor Rodriguez, I know the power is there for Bruno Ferreira. With that, we move into our second to last prelim, I think it is. Flyweight division, Joshua Van back in action as he takes on Ray Tazura. I wish Joshua Van was in the rankings, but he's sadly not. He is the favorite, though, at minus 190. Ray at plus 160 is the underdog. Joshua, 12-2. Ray, 10-0. Ooh, 5'6", 5 foot. Ray has 1 inch in height. And he also has 3 inches in reach, while 68-65 orthodox stance for both of these young guns. Young guns indeed, 23 and 22 years old for both of these boys. Joshua Van at 23, born in Myanmar, now lives and trains in Houston, Texas. 8 finishes in those 12 wins, 6 knockouts, and 2 subs. Both of his losses, he has been knocked out in. He was actually supposed to fight Bruno Silva, who's ranked number 12 in the rankings, but Bruno pulled out, sadly, so he's taken on a hungry up-and-comer instead, much to everyone's delight. Josh has just taken the UFC by storm. I mean, this guy's 4-1. His only loss was a round 3 upset by Charles Johnson. Since then, beat Edgar Chavez at the Sphere, beat Cody Durden on UFC 310, and he's looking to have just so much momentum with him right now. Joshua Van, one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, especially in the men's flyweight division. I think if he wins, they will find a way to get him into the rankings, and nonetheless, even if he wins, they're going to be giving him a ranked opponent. It is long overdue. His opponent, Ray Tazura, 22 years old from Japan. 4 knockouts and 4 subs make up 8 of his 10 victories, coming by finish. He was actually supposed to fight on UFC 312. But I think it was against Stuart Nickel, if I'm not mistaken, but Stuart pulled out of that, so Ray lost an opponent. Ray came from road to the UFC, where he went 3-0 and won a contract, made his official UFC debut, if you want to call it, in June of last year at UFC 303, which was actually Alex Pereira's card against Jiri Prochazka at their rematch, and he beat Carlos Hernandez using his grappling. I will say one thing, undefeated fighters are losing left, right, and center, and even though we had a couple win last time, there were some losers last time that lost their Look, Ray Tazura could be 20-0. I love these guys coming out of Japan, but Joshua Van is just so freaking good, and I think Ray's going to get a bit of a culture shock here when a guy that is only 1 year older than him, mind you, he's 22, this guy's 23, I think he's going to get a major shock when he realizes just how good Joshua Van's striking is and his grappling defense. So I think Joshua will at least get a unanimous decision. Best case scenario, he can pull away a little knockout somehow. I don't really know if that's going to be the case, but Joshua Van, any day of the week, I'm picking him to win, and that is my prediction for that. Following that fight, we'll get into our final prelim of the evening, and they just hate my boy Curtis Blades. They really hate my boy Curtis Blades. The fact Curtis Blades is on the prelims again is just utterly insane. There's no way Curtis Blades should be on the prelims. We have to understand the context here. Is Curtis Blades was on the prelims against Halton Almeida. He was the final prelim, gets a knockout. He then was the co-main event of a pay-per-view, fighting for an interim championship, and now he's back to being the head prelim liner. Like, this is so ridiculous. The bout order is pretty out of whack, but it doesn't really matter where you fight. It just matters how you perform. Curtis Blades, who is currently at the number 5 spot in the UFC heavyweight rankings, will be taking on the debuting Rizvan Kuniev. Curtis Blades will be coming in as the minus 330 favorite. Rizvan, the plus 250 underdog, which I do like underdogs like that. Curtis, 18-5 with 1 no contest. Rizvan, 12-2 with 1 draw and 1 no contest. Both men are 6'4", 4 inches in reach for Curtis Blades, 80-76, and an orthodox stance for both of our gentlemen. Let's start with Curtis Blades, man. We know him. We've talked about him so many times. 34 years old from Chicago. He's got 18 wins, 13 of them by knockout. Never gotten a submission, oddly, despite how good of a grappler he is. I will say all 5 of his losses have came by knockout, so we know where the weakness is. Mind you, so who are these people? You got Tom Aspinall, you've got Francis Ngannou, you've got Derek Lewis. I mean, who do we think Curtis Blades is out here losing to? Not your average Joe. That's for freaking Sergey Pavlovich. I mean, we know how hard he hits. He's not losing to bums. And actually, when I look at the Francis Ngannou, the last heavyweight champion before John Jones, your number 1 ranked guy who's the interim champion, your number 4 ranked guy, and Francis, yeah, those are all the guys that Curtis Blades has lost to. I think that speaks to his value. He was actually supposed to fight, this fight was supposed to happen on UFC Seattle, and they moved it. This was supposed to be the co-main event of UFC Seattle, and they moved it to this card. I have no idea why, especially the fact that it's now in the prelims, but I guess that's how it's working out. Curtis has been at the UFC since 2016. You know him, you love him. He's always been 1 win away. When Francis Ngannou knocked him out, it was for a title shot. When Derek Lewis knocked him out, it was for a title shot. When Sergey Pavlovich knocked him out, it was for a title shot. And actually, when Tom Aspinall knocked him out, it was actually for a title, which I find absolutely funny. So Curtis Blades notoriously might be one of the craziest guys to never win a belt, especially never actually officially fight for one. He's fought for an interim belt. I don't consider that actually fighting for a belt, but that's just me. So we'll see how he does here, man. This makes no sense. This makes no sense why Rizvan Kuniev is taking on Curtis Blades. Why are we giving this unranked random guy this opportunity? I don't know, but Rizvan, 31 years old, from Dagestan, Russia, 9 finishes in his 12 wins, 6 knockouts, and 3 subs. Currently on an 11-fight winning streak, actually a 12-fight unbeaten streak officially, which is pretty crazy if you ask me. Dropped his first 2 fights, had a draw, and then has since just not lost. I don't know how that works, but Rizvan won on Damas Couture Series last August, got a TKO with 1 second left over Hugo Cunha, and before that he actually fought on Damas Couture Series in 2021 and didn't get a contract despite getting a knockout. So, Rizvan, you now get a golden opportunity. You could go from unranked to the number 5 heavyweight on the planet. I know they're trying to break heavyweights in, but this is just not how you do it. I mean, we saw what happened with Shamil Gaziev take on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. It doesn't work out. We saw what happened when Marcos Rogelio de Lima took on Derek Lewis. These things happen. Curtis Blades is going to get back in the win column with a finish. And honestly, I'm going to go bold here. I'm going to say round 1 knockout. Takes him down. TKOs him. Okay, you can even get a little submission in here. I might go ballsy with a submission. But we're riding with Curtis Blades all day. You know, it's been too long. I keep picking Curtis Blades to get knocked out or finished. And now it's time for him to actually get the victory here. So, Curtis Blades, round 1 knockout. My prediction. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we get into our main card, and we kick things off with the men's lightweight division as King Green, that's right, it used to be Bobby King Green, now it's just King Green, takes on Mauricio Ruffy. King Green plus 420, Mauricio minus 590. Huge odds. King Green, 32-16-1 with one no contest. Mauricio is 11-1. 5'11 and 5'10. Mauricio has 1 inch height advantage and 4 inches in reach. 75-71 orthodox stance for both of our lightweight fighters. And these are two guys that, the winner of this probably getting a 15, 14, 13 ranked guy in the men's lightweight division, just to keep you all on the same page here. King Green used to be in the rankings. I mean, this guy's 38 years old, from California, 20 finishes and 32 wins, 11 knockouts, 9 subs. Of his 16 losses, half of them he's been finished in, 5 by knockout, 3 by sub. Bobby, been with the UFC for so long. I mean, 2009, he was fighting in the WEC, then he was fighting in Strikeforce. Finally, was in the UFC in 2013 when they had all merged, and just since then, been an absolute killer. In the last year, Jalen Turner knocked him out at the end of 2023. He would beat Jim Miller on UFC 300, and then Paddy Pimblett would beat him at UFC 304. And one thing people forget about that is that Bobby Green literally shot for a takedown on a jiu-jitsu black belt in Paddy Pimblett, which makes literally no sense. He put himself in a position to get submitted. I don't think he's going to do that here. I do think the odds are way blown out of proportion, but hey, maybe Ruffy will go out there and do something nasty to him. But I think Bobby's striking is super underrated when it comes to this matchup with Mauricio Ruffy. Mauricio, the minus 590 favorite, is 28 years old, from Brazil, currently riding a 6-fight winning streak. Of his 11 wins, 10 knockouts, and of his 1 loss, it was by knockout. Mauricio trains out of the fighting nerds with, dare I say, Caio Borralho, Gene Silva, Carlos Prates, the new gym of the year, the debuting gym of the year last year. Insane stuff from them. And he had a great UFC debut in May, knocking out Jamie Mullarkey in round 1. And then the James Lontop fight at UFC 309 in November just kind of showed that, some guys are just tough. And I think he got the best James Lontop available that night, and he thought that James was going to get out of there when he knocked him down. I have no idea how the ref didn't stop the fight. James was able to somewhat fight back, but in terms of this, I think Mauricio's going to go the distance again with King Green. I think it's going to be one of those Rafael Fiziev scenarios that happened with Bobby Green, where Bobby Green dropped the first 2 rounds, came back in the third, and they might just give round 3 to Mauricio Ruffy. I think it's going to be eerily similar to that. Some big shots landed earlier from Ruffy. You start to see him fade in round 2. He fades in round 3, but Green just can't put it together enough to get the finish. I'm going with Ruffy. And hey, maybe Ruffy will go right out there and starch him in round number 1. I saw it happen with Jalen Turner. It's not impossible to do against Bobby King Green, but I honestly don't know what happens. I hope for an entertaining fight. Following that, we head to the women's strawweight division. That's right, women's strawweight division, our only women's fight on the card, thankfully, as the number 5 ranked woman, Amanda Lemos, takes on the number 7th ranked Yasmin Lucindo. Amanda, 14-4-1, Yasmin 17-5. If I were to tell you that Yasmin Lucindo has 3 more professional fights than Amanda Lemos, and there is a 15-year age gap here, you would probably think I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. 5'4" to 5'3", 1 inch in height for Lemos, and 1 inch in reach for Yasmin, 66-65. Southpaw for Amanda Lemos, orthodox for Yasmin Lucindo. Let's start with the number 5 ranked Amanda Lemos. She's coming in, plus 115. Yasmin is the favorite, minus 135. Lemos, 37 years old, from Brazil, 11 finishes in those 14 wins, 8 knockouts, and 3 subs. Of her 4 losses, she's been knocked out once and submitted twice. As of late, 2024 treated her with a great fight of the night. I mean, one of the best woman fights I've seen, against Mackenzie Dern in February. And then she had a main event against Virna Jandiroba and was submitted in round 2 with an armbar. Very embarrassing. Not the best look for her, and she's been in the UFC now 8 years. Like, she knows how tough it is. At one point, she was on a 5-fight winning streak before Jessica Andrade submitted her in round 1. I do think where she tends to struggle is in the main event opportunities. Now, I've seen her beat Marina Rodriguez, but when she took on Zhang Weili in the co-main event of UFC 292, she put up a dud. Actually, probably got 50-40, in my opinion. 50-40. I don't think she won a single round. Might have been 10-8 every round. It was embarrassing. But Amanda Lemos back in action. 37 years old. She is up there. Entering the latter stage of her career, this is what the UFC loves to do. They love to put over young fighters, and that's what they're trying to do here with Yasmin Lucindo. 23 years old, from Brazil. 11 finishes in those 17 wins, 8 knockouts and 3 subs, oddly the same as Amanda Lemos. Of her 5 losses, 3 have came by submission. Lost her UFC debut to Yasmin Jauregui in one of the most entertaining women fights, again, that I've seen. I've seen some good ones. She was a part of one. Since then, beat Brogan Walker, submitted Poliana Viana, beat Karolina Kowalski, and won a split decision over Marina Rodriguez at UFC 307. I don't think the momentum starts here for Yasmin Lucindo. I think Amanda Lemos is going to enter the stage where she just starts to put over young fighters, and it starts here. I think Lucindo takes another decision. I think the striking is better with Lucindo. I think she has to be careful on the ground, but at the same time, she can get the fight to the ground and get into a dominant position. That is where she will excel. That is what I will be looking for. That is what I will be keeping in mind as this fight takes place. So that's our prediction for that. With that, we get into our third to last fight of the evening, and this one was kind of a shocker when it was made official. When guys get opportunities, similar to Rizvan Kuniev, I just didn't think this guy was ready for this opportunity, but number 13th ranked lightweight Jalen the Tarantula Turner takes on Ignacio Bahamondes. Ignacio Bahamondes back in action, coming off of his knockout at the Sphere, and he's getting a great opportunity here on a pay-per-view card to get a ranked opponent. Good for him. Jalen Turner 14-8. It's crazy to look at that record, and it just doesn't sum up how good Jalen Turner is. Ignacio Bahamondes 16-5. Both men are 6'3", 2 inches in reach to Jalen, 77-75. Southpaw with the left for Jalen, orthodox with the right for Ignacio Bahamondes. Jalen plus 105. Ignacio the favorite, minus 125. Wow, that's shocking to me. Ignacio, actually we'll start with Jalen, 29 years old from California. Of his 14 wins, he has 14 finishes, 10 knockouts, and 4 subs. And of his 8 losses, he's been knocked out 4 times. Now, Jalen, tough love here, right? So look at these losses. We've got Vicente Luque, Matus Gamrot, Dan Hooker, Renato Moicano. So I've listed off some of the top 15, top 10 best fighters in the lightweight division on the planet. And mind you, he's 1-3 in his last 4. That's the Dan Hooker, Matus Gamrot, and Renato Moicano. I would not be too pissed at that. He last fought at UFC 300, which is weird to think is almost a year ago. That's absolutely crazy to me. He got TKO'd in round number 2 after embarrassingly trying to get a walk-off knockout when he should have just followed up for the attack. I think Jalen has learned from that. I don't think he'll make the same mistake, but the question then becomes, will he be able to land the knockdown against Ignacio Bahamondes? Ignacio, 27 years old from Chile, but now trains in Chicago. 12 finishes out of his 16 wins, 11 knockouts and 1 sub. And of his 5 losses, he's been submitted twice. Currently on a 2-fight round 1 knockout performance of the night streak. I mean, incredible stuff from him. Last loss was Ludwig Klein in 2023. He's pretty good. Pretty good. He's sitting at 5-2 in the UFC, and he has some of the nastiest head kick knockouts that I've ever seen. They're pretty freaking good. The one thing with Jalen Turner you're going to want to keep an eye on is the cardio. It always deteriorates at the second half of round 2 and every round 3. I don't think I've ever seen round 3 I can confidently say that Jalen Turner fought super hard in. I'm thinking of the Dan Hooker fight. I'm thinking of the Matus Gamrot fight. He fades. Now, for this one, I think he gets Ignacio out there early. Truly, I do. I think he's going to get a hold of the neck. He's going to get a good straight shot or something. But I just think this is too soon of an opportunity for Ignacio Bahamondes. He didn't need to jump straight into the rankings and a guy like Jalen Turner, who is dangerous. Truly, Jalen Turner is a dangerous person, and I think it's his long, skinny arms where he's able to really hit the shots in there that you don't see, and especially wrap-up submissions. So, my prediction is Jalen Turner, and we'll see how that one goes. Following that, we get into the co-main event, which, I'm still happy we have the number 3 ranked lightweight Justin Gaethje against the number 11th ranked Rafael Fiziev, but it would have been so much better with Dan Hooker. I think we all agree, but it's the cards we've been dealt. Justin Gaethje plus 135 is the underdog. Rafael Fiziev at minus 160 is the favorite. How that makes any sense, I have no idea, but if anything, helps with betting. Justin Gaethje 25-5, Rafael Fiziev 12-3, 5'11" to 5'8". Justin has 3 inches in height. Rafael is 1 inch in reach, 71-70. Switch stance for Fiziev, orthodox for Justin Gaethje. The highlight reel. Back in action, of course, supposed to fight Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker had to pull out. In steps his former opponent, Rafael Fiziev. Justin, 36 years old. He's only got a couple fights left in his career. From Colorado, 21 finishes. Of those 25 wins, 19 knockouts, 2 subs. Of his, 5 losses? 3 of them have came by knockout and 2 of them by submission. So this man has never gone a distance where he has lost. And most notably, 2023 was one of the greatest years of Jake Gaethje's career. He beat Fiziev at UFC 286, then knocked out Dustin Poirier. Gets an opportunity for the BMF belt against Max Holloway, and, after having a fight of the night, some people call it fight of the year. I don't think it was fight of the year, but certainly it was a cool moment. He gets knocked out with 1 second left. So it actually has been that long since we saw Justin Gaethje last in action. This dude has never not been in a fight where he either got a performance bonus or gave his opponent a performance bonus. Mind you, the people who got performance bonuses were Charles Oliveira Khabib, who submitted him. I find that pretty funny. But other than that, he's gotten a fight of the night. He's gotten performance of bites. We all know how good Justin Gaethje is. The matter of the question is, what Rafael Fiziev are we going to get? So Rafael, the favorite, 32 years old from Kazakhstan, now trains in Thailand. We already know, trains at Tiger Muay Thai, one of the best Muay Thai gyms on the planet, might be the best. Of his 12 wins, 9 finishes, 8 knockouts, and 1 sub. Of his 2 losses, both of those, 3 losses, 2 of them have came by knockout. So, and his UFC debut, knocked out by Magomed Mostov with a shocking round 1 head kick. And he would then go on a 6-fight win streak. And on that win streak, he would get some fight of the night. He'd have a couple finishes, all of them getting performance bonuses. Then he ran to Gaethje, and Gaethje pretty much humbled him. Fiziev won round 1, and Gaethje fought back, won round 2, dominantly won round 3, and looked great. He last fought in September of 2023 when he took on Mateusz Gamrot. Won round 1 over Gamrot. It was pretty close in the striking department, and then unfortunately injured his leg, and Gamrot capitalized and took home the victory. So we'll see how this rehabilitation has been for Rafael Fiziev. I'm going to be honest, I just can't see a world where Rafael Fiziev is the actual favorite. I think we all know that Justin Gaethje should be the favorite for this, and I think Gaethje's going to win. Okay, and I think we may be getting another knockout. A knockout is due, Here's what happens. Whenever Justin Gaethje gets brutally finished, he comes back and gets a brutal finish. So I think he may go out, rock Fiziev right off the bat with a head kick, with an uppercut or something, and shockingly get a round 1 finish. I like to be ambitious. I like to be crafty. We'll see, but I will be going with Justin Gaethje for this one. And I would love to break this down more methodically, but I'm going to be honest. I was going to pick Gaethje if he took on Hooker. There's only a few guys where I wouldn't pick Gaethje to win. First off, if it was Ilia Topuria, I would pick Ilia Topuria. If it's Charles Oliveira, if it's Arman Tsarukyan, or if it's Islam Makhachev. Other than that, Dustin Poirier down, Chandler, Gamrot, Dariush Moicano, Paddy Pimblett, Jalen Turner. I'm picking all of these guys to lose to Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is a special, special person. And, you never know when it could be his last time fighting in the octagon. So I always treasure fights we can see like this. This is 3 rounds. His fight with Dan Hooker was supposed to be 5, but for this short notice step in from Fiziev, it will only be 3. But after that, contest has been had, which could be fight of the night. We will get into the main event of the evening as the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, the reigning defending light heavyweight champion Alex Poatan Pereira, takes on the man from Russia, the number 1 ranked light heavyweight. That is Magomed Ankalaev, if you did not know that already. And the odds makers can't even decide. It's minus 110 right now. They can't pick a favorite. They don't know what to do here. Alex 12-2, Magomed 21-1 with 1 no contest. Insane. 6'4" to 6'3", 1 inch in height for Pereira, 4 inches in reach for Pereira, 79-75, orthodox stance for both of these fighters. Alex Pereira coming into this one, 37 years old, from Brazil, of course, but now trains in Connecticut with his good buddy Glover Teixeira. 10 knockouts for him of those 12 career wins, and of his 2 losses, he's been knocked out once and submitted once. Currently riding a 5-fight winning streak at light heavyweight. He is yet to lose, and he has won his last 4 fights by knockout. He was my 2024 men's fighter of the year for his knockouts of Jamal Hill, Jerry Proska, and Khalil Rountree Jr., which were all short notice, essentially, step-ins. It was incredible what he did. He is so talented. Alex Pereira is just a special, special person. So, it's, I know what to expect. I always think back to the Izzy's fight. I didn't think he'd beat Sean Strickland, but that's I knew he would beat Adesanya. Actually, had my favorite prediction of all time is Alex Pereira winning a round 5 knockout over Adesanya. No idea how I predicted that. I didn't think he would lose again. I then actually thought Jan Blachowicz would beat him. I thought Jiri would beat him both times, but I knew that Khalil Rountree Jr. and Jamal Hill wouldn't. So now we get Magomed Ankalaev, and this is where things get interesting. Magomed, 32 years old from Dagestan. I don't know what to call his win streak. I think it's officially at 11. I don't know what it is. It's either a 13-fight unbeaten streak, 11-fight winning streak, but since his UFC debut, where he was up 9.9999% of a fight, 99.9% of a fight, and taps with 1 second left to Paul Craig. It was embarrassing. He's kind of ridiculed by Dagestan. Like, he was never really accepted by them. But since then, he has yet to lose, just rattling off, I think it was 9 wins in a row. Then he had the awkward draw, the awkward no contest, and then he's picked up 2 wins in 2024. Most recently over Alexander Rakic in UFC 308, or I should better have said at UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. On that win streak, he's had some cool knockouts of Marcin Prachinio, Dulce Luchambula, finishes of Ian Kudalaba, finished Anthony Smith. His knockout of Johnny Walker was pretty nasty. But he's also had boring decisions with Nikita Krylov, Thiago Santos, Volkan Ozdemir, and most recently Alexander Rakic. So, there's not many men that I would pick to beat Magomed Ankalaev in the division. As I look through it, it's tough going. But this just boils down to what style Magomed's going to fight. If Magomed goes to grappling, that's how he'll win. Truly, I have seen Poatan only lose 2 times, really, in the UFC. That first was when he was shockingly knocked out by Adesanya, who he had faced, 4 times prior. And the other one is that split decision where Blachowicz used his grappling, and I had him up 2-1 heading into that final round. And I had Pereira winning the final round, but I had Blachowicz winning it on my scorecard personally. I have not been able to make up my mind, because here's the issue, guys. As I've looked at Alex Pereira's last few fights, I've literally gone, picked him to win, didn't pick him to win, picked him to win, didn't pick him to win, didn't pick him to win, picked him to win. I have not made up my mind, and with Magomed, I've never doubted. The only time I doubted him was actually in 2020 when I was brand new and I picked Ian Kudalaba to win. Since then, I knew he would beat every single guy that he took on. He should have been champ when he took on Jan Blachowicz, and that's what a lot of people bring up as the leg kicks, that he was unable to eat those from Jan, and so he started shooting for takedowns. I want you to know, if the same thing happens, then he'll take down Alex Pereira and hold him down there. I'm confident of that. There's just also something about Magomed's story where, I'm looking at the last few guys that he has fought. Alex Pereira, Khalil Roundtree Jr., gifted an opportunity. Jamal Hill, gifted an opportunity. Jared Broski, gifted an opportunity. Magomed's title shot has been inevitable. Magomed winning the belt has been inevitable. And as much as I don't really want to do this because I feel like I always get this wrong, I'm going to pick Magomed Ankalaev to dethrone Alex Pereira. And here's the thing, I don't want that. I don't hate Magomed. I think Alex Pereira is a more entertaining champion. I think it's more fun to actually pick against Alex Pereira, especially like watching the Khalil Roundtree Jr. fight, because it was just so crazy to watch Khalil Roundtree Jr. almost get it done, and then Pereira just enter this insane flow state, people call it, and absolutely dominate him in round number 4. So for Magomed to win, he's going to need to use a grappling. Mind you, he has power. He can land a front kick. He can land a big punch, stun Pereira, but in terms of him saying he's going to stand with him the whole time, that's just not how it's going to go. Not how it's going to go. There have been things going on with how Ramadan's going on, and he is elected to take this fight when he shouldn't have. I don't know what that means for his Muslim heritage, but props on Ankalaev taking this opportunity. Alex Pereira could kick off another crazy 2025 if he is able to win this, but I think Magomed's going to get it done. How? I don't know. I have trouble seeing a decision. I have trouble seeing Alex Pereira go 5 rounds. Like, he hasn't. He's gone 3 rounds earlier in the UFC, but since the last 2 years, none of that. So I'm seeing Magomed Ankalaev get a TKO. I'm seeing him actually knock him out, similar to what he did to Johnny Walker. A submission is just not really in the cards for me. Magomed has only really gone for the knockout, so I think some ground and pound. I think a big stunning shot, a kick or something, but I think Magomed Ankalaev surprises everyone and really catches everyone off guard. And there's also this thing where whenever super fights are brought up, this happens. This has happened with Adesanya. This has happened with Kamaru Usman. It's happened with Volkanovski. Whenever big fights are brought up, they always seem to drop their belt to the up-and-coming challengers. So that's just kind of how I view it. I'm going to be picking Magomed Ankalaev to win and become your new champion, and it's just inevitable. And I think now is the time. So that's my prediction. It could happen. It could not happen. I just hope for some entertainment all around. That's all I ask for, is a little entertainment. With that, folks, that's all I got. Give it to me. We're 57-28 on predictions for the year. And if we go 11-0 here, or there are 12 fights, something around there, that would be absolutely beautiful for our ratio. But I'll be signing off. I'm probably going to upload this right away after I've recorded it. And I won't be back for a week. Maybe I'll try and upload some things, record a little video of me promoting this. But as for now, guys, go live your best life. Go do things that other people don't want you to do. Go do things that scare you. Go do things that make you a better person. Do something to shake up your day. That's what I call it, guys, because you got to live an exciting life. Boring lives are just lives of docile and doing nothing. And if you don't go about your life dealing with confrontation, then you won't achieve many things in your life. So use that little motivation. Do whatever you want with it. Ignore me. Kiss me. Love me. What am I saying? Guys, you already know. I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.